Welcome to beautiful Pagosa Springs, Colorado. This is where we're spending the night tonight. I'll show you around a little bit with some B-roll that I'll shoot in a second, but it's getting a little darker, and I wanted to talk about my reselling journey in Grand Junction, Colorado, which is kind of like my first real weekend-ish back doing reselling. Went over last Friday, well, today's Friday, last Friday and Saturday, and we went to 4 different stores. So I just want to talk about some of the main takeaways that I had from reselling there, as well as the profits and everything, but where we are right now, we're in National Forest land, and there is zero service. So we'll definitely be talking about the profits, but that'll just have to be a little bit later when I get service again. Everything else, all my other takeaways I have written down, we can talk about all those. Honestly, the first major takeaway that I had from this past weekend, and I have done some more reselling, those videos will be coming out after this video, and I actually just sent in a shipment this morning as well. But the main takeaway that I had from reselling this past weekend is that reselling, like it kind of always has been, is hard. Obviously, there's a lot of benefits to it. Like, I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to worry about like clocking in or clocking out anywhere. As long as the store's open, I can go and do it. And as long as the internet's open, you can do online arbitrage, which is something that I'm starting in. I get some questions about that sometimes. I am starting in online arbitrage. I'm just kind of taking my sweet time with it. And videos will be posted, just not necessarily concurrently with what I'm learning about OA. Because I don't want to give away the wrong information, but I do want to share my journey. So I am filming things. They'll just be coming out as I actually finish those videos and feel more confident about the information that I'm sharing with you guys. But kind of on the retail arbitrage train, which is what I have been doing for a while, it's honestly like getting back into it. Things got a little bit harder because obviously prices have gone up across the board in inflation. And sometimes that's not as big of a deal because Amazon prices will go up as well. So you're able to sell things for more. But I noticed that there were some items that went up like 2%. And then there were some items that went up like 50%. And those items that went up 50% just became completely unprofitable. And I even noticed that in one thing that was $3. There's a fishing lure, like a 3-pack. These aren't profitable anymore, but at $3 they would be 50% profitable because on Amazon they're selling for like $8, so you get back $4.50. And so the tag for $3 was still on there, but I scanned it with Walmart Plus and it was $4.53. Just like all the rest of them on that line, they just forgot to change some of the tags. And I guess I could have picked some of them up and made the employee take it because I can like prove that it was in the store, but that's just kind of a pain in the butt for me to have to worry about. And it was only a couple items, so I didn't worry about that. Otherwise, I was still able to find a lot of products in general. And really, for retail arbitrage, I think the name of the game is just scanning everything. I was actually kind of surprised at how the 4 stores fared. I did 2 Walmarts, a Ross, and a TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx, I love. I forgot how much I love like their cosmetic kinda-ish section. A lot of that stuff has already gotten in and sold. Walmarts were pretty good as well. They had decent clearance, and I was able to find some replenishables, as well as some new products, because one thing that's kind of interesting is that products are different from region to region. So things that I was selling in Florida aren't here in Colorado, but there are some things in Colorado here that are profitable that still sell on Amazon because people from Colorado buy things on Amazon that you could buy from Walmart, but they just want the convenience, so they'll end up buying it on Amazon. All this to say, essentially, I spent so much longer in these stores than I would have used to have spent in the stores because I was scanning so many items. The main takeaway here and the main question that I get all the time is, how do you find things? I'm not finding anything. And genuinely, people who say that they're not finding anything, I just don't think that they're scanning everything there. If you're not finding things because you're ungated in it, that's a different story. But if you're just not finding profitable products, like, I feel like if me or some other people, most of you guys who watch this channel, go into those stores, you'd be able to find products because you just are scanning everything. And I scan so much more than I used to scan because I knew that reselling was getting harder with the new inflation, and there were some new replenishable items that I would be able to find because some things went up on Amazon, but not in the stores. So you just kind of have to find those deals. It doesn't necessarily equal out. I would say reselling probably is a little bit harder, especially with more competition, because as more competition for supply comes, it's going to just, prices are going to be lower anyways on Amazon. But honestly, you just have to put in the work, scan items, and you will find profit. But there are some other things that I learned that kind of make me want to shift a little bit my business model. Not change anything necessarily, but I think there's like 4 or 5 other points that I want to get to real fast. I just want to make this video kind of recapping that reselling journey, as well as how it was just in general in Grand Junction. And I'm going to try to make some of these for each of like the big cities that I go to. Let me know if you want that. If you're like, this video sucks, don't make more of these, just let me know and I won't make any more of these. Trust me, I have plenty of content coming. I have literally 6 videos besides this one that I need to edit to get on the channel, and I'm already like 2 or 3 videos edited, uploaded, scheduled. So there will be at least 3 videos coming every single week here on out. I have hired some help. Don't worry, I won't be going anywhere. So sorry that that's happened so much while I've been in the van. Well, I was about to record this outside and then it just started raining. But I wanted to show you, we just got to Colorado Springs, and all the way back there, well, it's not gonna focus through my window, but back there is Pikes Peak, which is pretty cool. But I finally got some service so we can talk through what my totals were from the stores. We went to Walmart, Ross, TJ Maxx, the second Walmart, and then I had something weird at TJ Maxx where I bought some phones, but there was tags over the UPC, so I couldn't look it up. So I looked it up by name, and then I looked it up later to make sure that everything was still profitable. Some of it wasn't, some of it was. So our total spend is going to be a little bit different than the videos that I've already put out, which if you haven't watched those, what are you doing? Honestly, probably something more important than watching YouTube videos. The total time that we spent at each of these stores is over here, which amounts to about 9 hours of reselling, which is a decent amount. 2 hours more of doing my shipment, so about 11 hours total over 2 days. And then the profit numbers on those were pretty decent for my first time back, to be honest with you. Not super high in terms of hours to profit, because I was very slow in getting back into the groove of reselling and filming. At the first Walmart, we spent $376.61, and we profited about $345.31. I put P profit because it's potential profit. Obviously, it's got to get to Amazon and start to sell, and that has happened over these past couple days. It's not been great, but I have to get my Amazon stuff back in there, and I'm waiting on a lot of it to become available because it's still in like the FC transfer process. Ross, we spent $19.49 because those socks aren't being included. You'll know what I'm talking about if you watch that video. So $51.31 of profit because I found something that was like 10 times profitable from what it was. TJ Maxx, $304.57 for just under 100% ROI. Walmart, the second one, we got a little bit less return on investment and a lot more replenishables and stuff that should sell pretty fast. So we spent $267 to make $200. And then the phone cases, only about $78 of them, of my buy cost, ended up being profitable. I think it's like 6 or 7 of them, I think. The rest of them weren't, and they're in the back of my van. I have to return them to TJ Maxx here soon. But they're very profitable, so they will make me about $115, and those have already started to sell. So the totals were $1,046 of buy cost and $1,013 of potential profit. Probably will end up being around $1,000 to $900, but you also have to factor in like my subscriptions and other things that aren't built into those costs. So profits from that, if you do subtract those, will probably be closer to $700 or $800, which is really not bad at all. Back to me in a prettier place. The next thing that I really wanted to touch on is related to how I've been talking about I'm getting into online arbitrage, and genuinely I think that especially now, and as I'm moving all over in my van and traveling a lot, OA is something that seriously should be considered if you want to do Amazon in a pretty serious way. Because retail arbitrage, you can make a full-time living from retail arbitrage. That's totally fine. But to scale pretty easily and find those replenishable products that I can just spend hundreds or thousands of dollars in like a 5 or 10 minute period because I found a replenishable product that I can go buy again, compared to having to go to 10 different Walmarts to find 30 of them, or I guess in my case it was 4 different Walmarts to find like 50 of them. And that's what I've done with some of my replens. And that's fine. Like I'm gonna make what, like $300 from doing that? Not the end of the world. But I could do that same thing in 5 or 10 minutes if I find those products doing OA. So I'm gonna be doing online arbitrage to supplement retail arbitrage, or retail arbitrage to supplement online arbitrage. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, but both of the business models are going to be super important. Not planning on stopping either of them. And one of the main reasons why that can be the case, which I haven't talked a lot about in my videos, I kind of mentioned it in passing, is one of the ways that I'm changing how I allocate my money in my business to make it easier for me to resell with less stress. So what I used to do is I would put 60% of all my Amazon payouts towards my inventory budget, which I have in a separate bank account, and essentially that's just used to pay off credit cards. I went completely inventory debt free since I didn't buy anything for 3 months and had all of my old inventory sell out down to about $1,000 of buy cost. And so now I am going back into debt because I'm using credit cards. But it's not nearly as scary because instead of 60% of my payouts going back into the inventory, I think I changed it to about 73%. So I'm paying myself less, meaning I need to sell more. But it's less stressful to do that because first off, I built up other income sources, which whether that's another job, whether that's a YouTube channel that you want to start, whether that's anything else that can help you to make money, it can be helpful to do that while you really build an Amazon business to a point of scale, which is kind of what I'm in the process of doing. Hopefully building my business to starting in Q4 and moving on kind of forever to be a $30,000 per month business, which is much more significant than what I have been doing on Amazon. And the main way that I'm doing that, because money and managing money is super important to me and how I think about businesses, is by changing the allocation so that now instead of just putting 60% towards my inventory, I put 73%. And the reason for that is normally about 60% of what I get paid out is cost of goods sold. So I have to pay that back. But if I do an extra 13% on top of that for every single shipment, that's going to give me an inventory surplus in terms of cash in my inventory account. That way I'll be able to buy inventory out of cash, even though I'm still using credit cards, instead of out of debt, which really helps me to build up my inventory reserve that's at Amazon and be less stressed out, because if I do get an IP claim, if something crazy happens to my account and something gets shut down, I don't have to worry about paying off these credit cards. It's just cash that I'm out, which was a risk of doing the business anyways, but that's not something that should happen, especially if you're doing your Amazon business well. The next major point has to do with my reselling at Ross, because Ross, I spent like $50 maybe, and only 26 of that was sent to Amazon because I still have some of that sitting in the back of my van. I did actually check on the inventory guess kind of update on that, but it is starting to sell on Amazon, and you'll have to watch that video to know what I'm talking about. I'll link all the videos that I'm covering in this video at the end of this one. But at that Ross, I was checking to make sure that pair of socks were still selling because they dropped all the variations and it didn't look like it had sold at all. So it looks like it's selling, so I might send that into Amazon here pretty soon. I'm just going to get a little more confirmation because it's still 700,000 ranked. But what's really important for me is at Ross's, because it's pretty clothing heavy, I want to make sure that I get Ungated in Nike, Adidas, all the big brands like Puma, everything, so that I can sell whatever is in Ross without any worries, because I was only able to walk out of there with $50 because I couldn't scan any of those things. So that's going to be on the to-do list for me, especially as I get into OA. It's just better to be able to sell everything. If you're starting on Amazon, just get Ungated and stuff. It's going to make your life so much easier. I promise you. As someone who hasn't gotten Ungated it, and it's made my life harder, but the things that I've auto-Ungated have made my life way easier. My next big point is that tax exempt is just awesome. At Walmart, you're able to use it. At TJ Maxx, you're able to use it. If you haven't gotten tax exempt yet, I'm going to link a video up in the cards over here about my process of getting it. It was for Florida, but this will work for pretty much any state. You just have to go to their specific website and put in all this information. But because of tax exempt, I spent $1,000. Ross was only $50, and that didn't use tax exempt. There was $350 that I spent at a Walmart, and they didn't let me use my tax exempt because they were being stupid. I've used it literally every single other Walmart in Colorado, including the other one in that video. So because of that, there was about $700 of inventory from TJ Maxx and the other Walmart that I was able to buy tax exempt, meaning I saved about $60 to $70, which is just extra profit in my pocket when that sells, because I didn't have to add it to my cost of goods sold. And I do get the question, aren't you able to write that off? And yes, I'm pretty sure you write that off as a part of your cost of goods sold. Don't quote me on that, not an accountant. I hire people to deal with that because I am a nerd, but I'm not an accountant. And those two things aren't always the same. Two more things before we get into the numbers. I might have actually interspliced the numbers in these. I don't know how I'm going to edit this video yet. Tax exempt. I already said that. This is more for me, but can also kind of correlate to you, but I really need to be consistent about either reselling all the small places that I go or just taking like 1 or 2 days to resell in a big city. Like, we're going to be in Denver soon. We're going to be in Colorado Springs. If you're in those areas, hit me up. I'd love to meet up with you guys. Play some disc golf if you play disc golf. I play a lot of disc golf. And honestly, this has borne itself out. I wrote that down after I got done with that shipment on Saturday. But we stayed at a Walmart 3 days in a row. One in Montrose, Colorado. One in Cortez, Colorado. And then one in Durango, Colorado. And I have shot all 3 of those videos. Those will be coming out to you soon, as well as the shipment for that. But because I went to those 3, I literally just this past weekend, like today, dropped it off. Another shipment of $1,100 of profit, just about. Just because I was reselling places that we were sleeping. And I did that in a total of about 5 hours for the reselling, plus about another 1.5 for the shipment. So 6.5 hours to make another $1,100. And I was already sleeping there. So I literally could have just either been on my phone or on my computer or reselling. So I need to be consistent about that. And honestly, because I have the credit available to me, and I've already talked about how I'm adjusting, how I allocate my payouts from Amazon, as long as I'm buying things that are selling fast, which is part of my rules to make sure that things are selling fast, I'm not super worried about doing all the small places as well as the big places and like kind of maxing out all the credit cards that I have that are 0% interest. And I do have a video about credit cards as well that I'll link up here if you want to check out. I'm linking a lot of videos. Please don't feel pressure to go and watch those, only if they relate to you, but I kind of share all my thoughts on those as well. But I need to be consistent about doing that. And then the big thing for me, honestly, is just getting shipments out, which leads really into the last point, which is a super important point. This lens is much tighter than the other one, so this is weirder to vlog on. But the last point is essentially just how you win on Amazon. And it's really, really simple, but not easy. Okay, I mean, how freaking pretty can you get for a spot to stay? Colorado has been the freaking best. All right, let's bump this up so you can actually see my face a little bit. I just wrote this down. I'm just going to read it off my phone. Just send shipments. Amazon doesn't really have any tricks. Like, there's not like any tips and tricks that I can teach you. There's obviously rules that you should have from when you're buying your inventory. I talk about all stuff all the time. I show you how to analyze some deals, basically how I do things. Honestly, it's just scan more. And then because you're scanning more, buy more, get Ungated in things to help you buy more as well. Anything that can help you to scan more by getting a scanner so you scan faster, going to more stores, actually scanning every single item when you're in the store, buying more items, and then sending more shipments. That's how you get, like that. It's simple, but it's not easy to do, obviously. Especially I know if you guys are working on their jobs. And that's why, like, when I was at the bank, starting my Amazon business, I was able to leave that job in about 2 months after I started Amazon. But that's because we already had some savings that we could fall back on. We didn't need to. We had an exit plan, but honestly, it was mostly because 4 or 5 nights a week, I was either going to stores after work or sending in shipments. And so I sent in the most shipments per like time in that period of time, which is what really helped me to leave my job. scan more stuff, buy more stuff, send more stuff in. Hope that you get to experience something as pretty as this views in Colorado. But I'll link the videos for the Walmarts that I resold, the Rosses that I resold in Grand Junction, as well as the shipment that I did. Go check any of those out or any of the other ones that I've already talked about in the cards of this video. I really appreciate you guys supporting the channel. So many more videos to come. Let me know what you want to see. It might get added to the list of things to work on. See you there.